let's define where officially 4 begins right after Endgame, right? Endgame is the end of Phase 3.
Yeah, so Phase 4 starts with Spider-Man No Way Home. I think is the
Okay.
first one, and then
Continues on
after
to
that one is what, the Eternals, and then
Shang-Chi,
Shang-Chi,
Miss Marvel, all the TV shit.
well, all the TV stuff. So I think WandaVision's in Phase 4, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be that.
Okay.
Yeah. So literally all the TV shows that are on Disney Plus, that's all Phase 4.
Well, that makes it easy. Good.
Yeah. So that's all of that.
But it doesn't make it easy to watch or sit through.
Do you like this stuff that's on Disney Plus?
It depends on what it is. Like most of it, I've at least liked all right. About the only one I didn't was Miss Marvel, but that's because I'm not the target audience. Like it's geared for people that like iCarly, and those are people that are like 38 years younger than me and girls.
That's actually exactly what we akined it to. Was it's iCarly.
But was it sincerely made for that audience, or was that the excuse they came up with afterwards when it didn't become successful with other demographics?
It had to be, and like superheroes not a genre. It's basically a framing device. Like you could apply it to anything. It's been done by people other than Disney before, and
Yeah.
they're doing it now.
Andy, I know what you said to me.
Oh yeah, well honestly I'm gonna just come across as a super fan. I've loved everything that they've had on Disney Plus. There hasn't been a single thing, any of the shows that I've had any problems with. I've been totally entertained.
Even with Miss Marvel, like you watched all of that, and
I would say especially with Miss Marvel. I love the fact that they brought in all the cultural references. I think it's excellent that Disney is reaching out and trying to reach those target audiences, even if the classic white American can't relate to all of it. I'm here for that, you know. And I know that's not what you guys are complaining about. I know it's more that it doesn't reach maybe our age group as opposed to our culture. But I don't know. I found myself really enjoying it.
see, my problem with the show, and it actually became my problem with a lot of the newer movies, like especially like Doctor Strange and Thor, was it didn't feel so much like it was written for a child so much as it felt like it was written by a child. Like if you
Well,
ask
I don't
a
want to
child
jump ahead, but I definitely feel that way about one of them in particular.
like if you asked a kid, tell me a story, this is how they would tell it. They would say, and then this happened. And then what? And then this happened. And then this happened. And every time they say, and then this happened, it has no relevance to anything they
Right.
said before.
I will say a lot of the newer stuff, it feels like they've been like kind of quick with it. Like they didn't put necessarily the same amount of time and effort into it all. I don't think it's quite necessarily that slapdash. Like most of it, like there's nothing that I've watched that have been like, well, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to
This
go
was-
straight. I'm going to attack the two
boy.
that have made me the most angry. Because the first is Doctor Strange 2. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I get it, like visually it's different and that's cool, and you've got that Sam Raimi look, neat. And when you had like the whole undead spirits thing, cool, but the story itself is awful. Well, it broke Wanda completely.
But then
I did not like what they did with her character arc. I feel like they were trying to maybe honor what has happened in the comics, but it didn't seem to track well to what was going on in the cinematic universe.
At one point, she attacks Kamertage, and like all these wizards that you have, apparently all of them are level 1. They only know magic missile, and that's as far as it goes. And so they just know bow and arrow and shield, and that's it. So their magic sucks. And then she just starts slaughtering and killing people, including like slaughtering someone wounded on the battlefield. So at that point, you've gone beyond the point of redemption. There is no redeeming this. You've murdered all these people.
you watched WandaVision, right?
Which one?
You watched WandaVision, right?
Yeah.
So they set that up.
Of her murdering all these people?
Yeah, because first off, on certain circumstances come up, like she gets a hold of the Darkhold, masters her magic, she becomes the Scarlet Witch. She's not Wanda Maximoff anymore. She's the Scarlet Witch. And basically that makes her like a force of chaos magic in the universe. That's the plot. That's what they set up.
But what's her motivation, though?
Her motivation is get back her kids.
Right. So why not in the first 30 seconds of the film, Doctor Strange says, in these infinite universes, let me take you to one where Wanda's dead and the children are orphaned and they need their mother. Okay, let's do that. Roll credits.
The other thing that it sets up is the Darkhold gets in your noodle. It's like getting drunk on the dark side in Star Wars. Whatever you're trying to do with it, it's going to twist it to evil. It's going to make your motivation that much more. Now, this does get something where you have to watch more Marvel stuff than you should to understand it. But the Darkhold even pops up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And people start messing with it with the best of intentions. And it causes them to just take it farther. You get people that like...
I remember that. They had Ghost Rider on there. But it was like Mexican Ghost Rider.
Yeah. But like, that's what happens with the Darkhold. You don't just want your kids. You want the ability to infinitely protect your kids.
I kind of hate the fact that they kind of make you do homework in some of these movies. So when I went to see it, I took my wife to see it. And she didn't watch WandaVision. She did watch Endgame. And so she'd been watching that, and so she remembers Wanda from Endgame. And it goes from there straight into Doctor Strange 2, and she was like, who are these kids? I'm like, oh, Wanda had kids. When the hell did that happen? Like, oh, that was in another show. Are they going to explain that? No. Oh, also, she's evil now. Well, when the hell did that happen? Like, yeah, she's evil now, and she's murdered a bunch of people. Why doesn't anyone give a fuck? I don't know.
I get that it has that power, and I think that's a great explanation, Courtney, but I would have liked to have seen more struggle between her personality and the force of the Darkhold, just like they did with Doctor Strange. They kind of showed that it was a challenge and a struggle that he fought against, and, I think her character became pretty beloved, and it seemed like she was moving in the right direction at the end of the TV series, and then we just got dropped with a complete reversal, and without it appearing like that there was any challenge between her mind and the dark influence of the Darkhold.
Yeah, you don't get that until like the end of the movie, and that's a legit complaint.
I honestly just wanted to see them not trivialize death, especially when she actually makes it into the little sanctum, and she kills those two guys, including the wizard that's got one arm, and like she drops him into a pool. He's just assumed dead at that moment. And all Doctor Strange does is he looks around and goes, I think she's using the reflections. Quick, let's deal with that. And I'm like, does nobody care that all these people just died? That Wanda just murdered these people? And it was like nobody really cared.
That must have been just a slight misstep, because they totally got that right in Love and Thunder. They totally gave cancer all due respect.
Yeah, okay. So as much as I disliked Doctor Strange 2, I was hoping that at least Love and Thunder was going to come out and it was going to be like Ragnarok, and that was going to renew my love of all these Marvel movies. Wow, was I wrong?
Well,
I didn't hate it as much as you.
Really, really being excited for it. I set it up on too high a pedestal. I thought it was going to be the best thing ever. And the trailer made it seem like, to me at least, it was going to be really good. And then most of the stuff in the trailer seemed like they covered it in like a little 1-minute montage at the very beginning of the flick. And I was like, okay, here's where we're going. It was all downhill from there.
Would you agree that Love and Thunder was an awful lot of fun, but didn't fit well with everything else?
I'd like to agree with it. There were parts that I thought were funny, but I was actually squirming in my chair in misery in the theater, and it seemed like a lot of people were also... There was a lot of silence through a lot of parts where you could feel a disconnect between the audience and the film. But like some of the jokes really landed well. And I just felt like the humor took away from the story too much, where it was one joke after the other, and you started to realize pretty quick, okay, that's what's running the show here, is the quick laughs and not so much the story.
If we're going to be talking about Thor, I need tequila.
See, I ended up not getting invested in Thor, because like
from the beginning, you mean?
The beginning, like the first one was okay, was a good movie. Not great, not awful. Second one, I fell asleep.
Oh yeah, The Dark World was not good.
Ragnarok, I was like, all right, well, I'm entertained. There are parts of this I like, there's parts of this I don't, but I can see the direction we're going now. And then to me, it sort of seemed like Love and Thunder was just further down that same kind of direction. Because I haven't really cared in a while, I was able to just roll with it. It was like the action scenes were pretty cool. There were some parts that were fun, parts that were kind of heartwarming, parts that were just funny. Like I just couldn't. I haven't taken it seriously in a while.
I feel a little blown out with a lot of the superhero stuff lately. I don't know if it's just because there's been so much of it, or if it's because the emphasis has been more on quantity instead of quality. So I feel like we've been getting half-hearted, half-assed, superhero movies and shows. When Love and Thunder came out and that scene shows up where Heimdall's son, because I guess he's got a son now, sure, shows up with like Amiga special effects, like it's like his head cut out with glowy parts, and I'm like, I remember actually being in the theater going, what is this? What am I looking at?
I'm going to tell you where my threshold for bad CGI is. Remember the Ben Affleck Daredevil?
Yes, I do.
Remember that scene where like they CGI Daredevil and Bullseye jumping around in the cathedral and it kind of looked like Gumby?
No, I don't remember that obscure shit movie from 20 years ago, but I believe you.
Don't bring this all crashing back.
Consider yourself lucky. That's my threshold for bad CGI.
You know what's sad is I feel like that same moment happened again in Black Panther. At the end, I had a hard time with that end CGI moment because it really just looked like two people who forgot how physics work. Yeah. And they just started floating around. It really looked like when you're a kid and you take two toys and like you're having them fight.
Yeah.
Well, in general, with Love and Thunder, I kind of like the special effects, but I didn't have a problem with that, except I don't like what Disney's been doing with a lot of these films where they go with a couple different special effects and then overuse them throughout the film. Like, they tried to go with that gold blood for that initial God sequence where all of his minions bled gold and he bled gold. And then everybody else in the film also just happened to have gold blood. Because I guess it's a children's movie and they didn't...
Well,
they didn't want to have red blood.
All the gods have gold blood, except Thor, of course. He doesn't have gold blood. He's fine.
Yeah, they overused that, and I feel like every movie, and I think I read it somewhere that they've been doing this on purpose. They pay for a certain amount or a certain type of graphic set to use, special effects to use in that film, and then that's what they stick with throughout the entire film. They use those particular things, and we're supposed to identify that unique special effect with that particular hero.
Huh.
But to me,
that.
It just cheapens the effects. It makes the effects look canned.
It is cheap and cheesy.
Well, the best special effect is Thor getting stripped naked. And they CGI him about 20 pounds heavier. Chris Hemsworth, he's already cranked out of his mind.
Right.
But they still need to CGI more muscle on him. It's like, you already look like a fucking cartoon. You don't need to go that... Yeah.
I mean, you might as well have just made him Dude from Free Guy.
I gotta take a shit and get out of here. You guys have fun.
All right.
I'm gonna use your bathroom and not flush. So drink more tequila.
All
right, I'm gonna drink more tequila.